between the UK and other countries. What is your reading of the differences here?
Well, Hugh, it's certainly a sombre moment with the death toll nearly at 30,000 and ahead of other European countries. But of course, there are these caveats. London is 3 times bigger than Italy's biggest city, and like New York, is an environment where the virus might spread quickly. The UK's got a bigger population than Italy, and of course there are some issues around international comparisons. And the point's often made, the NHS has coped remarkably well in the circumstances. It hasn't been overwhelmed despite predictions. But one chart stood out. It's the one showing Italy 15 days ahead of the UK in this epidemic. Italy was one of the first countries to be hit hard, and yet the UK now has a higher death toll. And it comes on a day with more scrutiny of the government by MPs at the Health Select Committee with officials, and then in the Commons Health Questions with health ministers. Questions being asked respectfully. I think MPs from all parties know the government's had a very, very difficult job here in unprecedented circumstances, but questions being asked about, was the lockdown imposed too late? Shouldn't testing have started a lot sooner? We heard from Sir Patrick Vallance, the Chief Scientific Advisor there, that he thinks it could have been developed more rapidly and not stalled for a month or so as it was. So I think these questions can only continue from here.
Hugh, thanks very much again. Hugh Pym, our health editor. Well, the prominent scientist whose work was a key factor in the government's decision to implement the lockdown has stepped aside tonight from the advisory committee called SAGE. Professor Neil Ferguson said that he'd acted in a way that undermined the rules on social distancing. Follows reports in the Daily Telegraph that a woman had visited his home in breach of the restrictions. Our correspondent Jessica Parker is at Westminster. And Jessica, what have you learned about this development tonight?
Well, as you say, Professor Neil Ferguson, a member of the scientific committee known as SAGE, which advises ministers on their approach to coronavirus, he stepped back from that committee this evening following reports in the Telegraph that he breached social distancing rules after a woman visited his home. I'll bring you some of Professor Neil Ferguson's statement tonight. He said, "I accept I made an error of judgment. I acted in the belief that I was immune, having tested positive for